Is it better to buy or rent in the DFW?
Here's what you need to know to make the best choice.
Hi, my name is Emily with the Sing Real Estate Group.
Hi, my name is Carla with New Wave Lending.
And I'm Trisha Gonzalez with the Sing Real Estate Group. Today, we're going to talk about whether or not it's better to buy or rent here in the DFW Metroplex.
There's a few things that while you're buying and renting that might come up with your mind. So cost, lifestyle, and maybe the mentality.
A few dilemmas that you may run into when talking about renting versus buying is first and foremost having to break your lease, right?
Yes.
It's really hard to get that timeline completely perfect. I'm doing one right now, and then sometimes you end up paying 2 months rent or things of that nature after spending so much time finding the perfect apartment.
Another thing can be that mentality of actually getting a mortgage. Sometimes it feels real like you're becoming an adult, but newsflash, if you've been paying rent, you are an adult. So mortgage can maybe be a good investment depending on how long you're planning on being in the area.
Yeah, no matter how intimidating. So that's what we're here to talk about, to make the process a little less intimidating for everyone. So here are the pros and cons of buying versus renting.
So the pros of buying is building equity, enjoying stability, and customizing your home.
Pros of renting is that it's flexible, fewer maintenance and responsibilities, and lower upfront costs.
Of course, but some of the cons of buying are the upfront costs, the maintenance, the responsibility, and your commitment to the location.
Yeah, and one of the cons about renting is you're not building equity, and rent prices can go up annually.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whether you're buying or renting, you're still paying. You're paying someone's mortgage, right? You know, whether you're paying an apartment, corporation, or things of that nature. It's just what works best for you. At the end of the day, they both really end up being near the same amount of money anyways. So it's most of the people that I talk to that we're looking at rentals, and we're looking at expensive rentals. We're looking at, $25, $28, $3,000 a month. And I'm like, why are we renting?
Yeah.
And it's usually because they don't know where they want to end up. They are nervous about the real estate market. They're young entrepreneurs. They have the money to buy, but maybe they just need that guidance, or at least someone in their life to show them, hey, this is what you could do. Here are your options. Like, we're still going to move forward with this rental, but in a year, if you are still here, maybe you have a better idea of what you want. We should take the time to have that discussion before the 1 year hits.
Yeah, and I also think part of having that discussion is really knowing what are your needs versus your wants. Right. Because maybe you're used to living in downtown, but you don't have to live downtown. So maybe that's just a want that maybe buying a house makes more sense in comparison to maybe you work remote and they relocate you maybe every year. That will make more sense for a rental. And if you're not sure what your wants and needs are, that's why we're here. So, do a one-on-one consultation or just have a heart-to-heart with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, Emily, you're doing rentals and buys, correct?
Yes, I am. And that's typically what I see all the time. I work with a lot of, young families. And so a lot of them always just need that right navigation of what would work best for them. And if they want to invest in their family with buying, or, take that time, year or two, rent, and then figure that out later on.
Yeah, I think we see it mostly with families that are being relocated. They don't know anything about DFW.
Yeah.
You show them, and then they, you give them such a good deal, and it's almost like you find them a good deal too quick, and they're like, well, maybe we should just go rent, And I'm like, hey, look, I can help you rent. Yeah. I can help you rent in the same area. But is that home going to be the same price in a year when your rental's up? Right?
That's true.
And that's the thing. I mean, when you are moving from out of state, and you hear it from a lot of people, I mean, you're moving to an area, you're kind of depending on your realtor to know, hey, this is what I've told my realtor about my family and our lifestyle, the school districts that we want to be in. And you're kind of putting all your faith in them, right? If you're going to go buy a home, buy a $400,000 home, it's a big commitment.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So you guys do leases and you guys help people buy homes. Do you think the price, like monthly price, is pretty much the same?
I would agree. I would. I do think that typically I've seen, rentals for $1,500-$1,800, and that's what a homeowner is paying on something that they own. So I definitely feel like you definitely can find something that could be as much as what a rental is, or as much as what your price range would be to rent, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just depends how much money you're putting down, the interest rate
Right.
incentives.
Mhm.
If you I think that's where we start, right, with clients.
Right.
Is what do you want to be at monthly? And then
Right.
we get with the lender, we talk
Right.
about how much we're putting down, and then, you got to figure out what the rate's going to be to get the person their ideal monthly mortgage.
Right.
Yeah. But I think right now it's definitely about maybe a little more to
Even.
buy a home. But like I said, it just depends on the loan type and things of that nature.
That's true. Another thing to take in consideration is when you have a house, you do have to keep up with it. So there are maintenance costs that you have to keep in your budget, at least compared to a rental.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, hopefully if you buy a new build, right, and that kind of goes to another one of our videos where we talk about the pros and cons of buying new versus pre-owned, you can kind of decide, okay, maybe I'm not the handiest person, or maybe we don't have, extra $10,000 to replace the AC. Maybe we should go new build.
Let's talk about some of the financial implications. So let's keep it real. So I believe that if you're going to be here in the Dallas market, DFW, around 3 years, you should buy. Because worst case scenario, you relocate, you don't like it, the equity you will gain in that house, at least in the DFW, you're going to have a profit. So you will gain more money than if you would be renting. And then some of the costs, I mean, you guys were telling me whenever you do move into an apartment, you have to put 1 month's rent plus a deposit, which is 1 month.
Yeah, and honestly, depending on a case-by-case basis and what the scenario could be, a lot of rentals do ask for a double deposit, things like that. So that can add up, which would be best to buy, because when you're buying, that could honestly be a down payment for you.
Yeah, if your money's tied up, right? If your money's tied up in the property anyways, right?
Right.
I mean, if you got $9,000 tied up in a rental, or you could have had $15,000 tied up as a down payment,
right?
Which one's making you money and which one's just sitting there?
Yeah.
And I will also say, so right now is the beginning of 2025, and most of my buyers, I know most of your buyers are getting pretty much everything covered except the down payment, right?
Yeah. Sometimes the down payment too.
Yeah.
If we can work it in there.
Yeah, and if you're a first-time home buyer, there are programs, as long as you're moving into Texas, that you can get money for your down payment.
Yeah.
So if that's something to consider, I'm a big believer of looking at all your options, and really an option that's going to come to the best one for your scenario.
Yeah, like we were saying, especially with the out-of-state people.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get a huge influx after all these California fires.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I'm getting more calls on my listings that have kind of been sitting, and I'm like, oh, and she's like, oh, they're out of state. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I know what's going on. And I think a lot of those people too are going to be coming here and wondering, do we rent? Do we buy? How long are we going to be here? But to Carla's point, if you're going to be here over 3 years and you're going to be able to appreciate that investment, and you don't have to sell it. I mean, just because it appreciates, don't mean you have to sell it. You
That's
can
true.
Cash out refinance when the rates get lower, and rent it out. Take that cash, go buy another property wherever you move to. You could pull out a HELOC. You could just straight up rent it out and then go move into a different property if that's, and then you could go rent.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of different options.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about moving to one of the best metroplexes in the entire country, Dallas, Florida, anywhere in Texas. Yeah. I mean, if you're here,
it's a good investment, because there's so much opportunities and work companies coming in. So that is a great point. Even if this is not your forever home, rent it out.
Yeah.
Rent it out to some of those people and get some passive income in your portfolio.
Yeah, I just put in an offer for a client for a duplex out in Fort Worth. First-time home buyer is able to put minimum down.
That's great.
Brand new, and it's right between TCU and UTA.
Wow.
There's no HOA. There's no Airbnb restrictions. I'm like, man, you could get midterm rental. All these nurses by the medical district in Fort Worth. And I was like, live here, until you grow your family bigger, and then rent it all out. And it's brand new. And he's hopping all over Texas. He just made his way to DFW. So I feel like the opportunities are endless.
And that's honestly the smartest way to invest in real estate.
Right.
Honestly, one of the smartest ways, which I love.